Thank you for speaking with us. When you think about investing in India, you usually, like you started talking to management. So how do you judge whether the management is good or whether they're crooks or like incompetent?
Yeah, that's a good question. So historically, I never met management. For most of my career as an investor, probably out of the last, if you take the last 24 years, including the time when I was just managing my own money, probably at least 20 of those years or 21, 22 of those years, I never met managements, and things worked out fine. I didn't think I could do that in India, because I think that one of the things I can almost bet on is that the typical US company I might look at, if I lose money, it won't be because of fraud. I can lose money because of my stupidity, but not because of fraud. So the outright fraud cases in the US in public markets are few and far between. So they're not, at least in my almost quarter century of investing, I've never lost money, I think, anywhere because of fraud. I've lost money many times because of stupidity, but not because of fraud. So in India, I think there's a much higher risk of fraud than there is in the US. So I needed to be able to kick the tires. Uh, so far, I don't think we've invested in anything that is fraudulent. So I think so far the filter has worked, but we will find out over time. But I think, generally speaking, one is, you can make plenty of judgments when you meet managements. I mean, I have been in the room with frauds in India. That's kind of fun. In fact, I think it's been a lot of great learning to be in the room with frauds, because you can try to understand kind of how they work. But the other thing is that you can follow the cash. So I think one of the best ways to avoid fraud. So there's a great book, which I think a new edition just came out, called Financial Shenanigans. I think Schlitt is the guy's name. I'm in touch with the author now. I'm supposed to have a call with him in the next few weeks, so I'm looking forward to that. I think Howard Schlitt is his name, but I'm not sure. But anyway, that's a great book. I think it does a really good job of explaining how companies can mess with you with their accounting and financial statements. And I think in India, one of the things I look for is just follow the cash. I think if you follow the cash, I mean, if you look at even in the US, if you look at something like MCI, WorldCom, which was a fraud, it would have been easy to spot if you focus on the cash, because basically they were converting expenses into capex. So what were ordinary expenses were being capitalized, and thus profits were being increased. But if you looked for the cash, what is the business producing at the end of the year after all expenses? You would just see that it was a widely different number from net income for WorldCom, for example. So I think the Financial Shenanigans book, the guy is really good, and I think that you can tell a lot with just the numbers and the whether the cash is there or not. In some cases we have fraud in India, like I think Satyam is a good example, where the guy doctored the bank statements. So in that case, I think Deloitte was the auditor. In that particular case, you wouldn't have caught it because the cash was a fiction. What they were showing as cash on the balance sheet didn't exist. But that's a very rare case, and but generally you'll find that the fraudulent guys basically one way or another are playing with debt, and they're kind of, you can get to it if you just sift through the financials.